Well, it's that time of the night. Time for some street talk. This is your host, Matt, coming at you here for the next hour or so. We don't have any music going. My laptop got absconded by my daughter in law, which is fine. She needed it for something there. So I got another computer on order. I'm waiting for it to get in, hopefully soon. I thought I was going to be here today and I'd have everything set up, be able to run all that and be able to run extra video and everything like that. Hopefully that'll be soon. Next week, possibly. Um, so I'm kind of winging it without it. So it is kind of a crazy how busy as I have been to try to get material for the show. But you know what? It's unbelievable what in a short period of time about different things that are going on throughout the United States. One thing that I wanted to talk about, and it just blew the story come out. This had to do with New York. New York City Council approved a $1 billion cut in the police budget. They're going to do is, it says, we are going to ensure, this is de Blasio talking, and it says they canceled, let's go back. It says City Council passed the city budget late Tuesday night. A budget would include redistributing $1 billion of the NYPD budget. It says the new budget shifts at $1 billion to spending for young people and NYCHA, whatever that. It says the total figure of the new budget is $88.1 billion, down from $95.3 billion. Holy crap, that's a lot of money. But it says the NYPD reforms include canceling the July recruit class, major overtime reductions, which I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. I mean, how do you reduce overtime when guys are already taxed? A lot of people are leaving law enforcement now because they feel like that they have no backing. And reduce contracts and non-personal expenses. So whatever that means, I think that's kind of left open there. But it says it's time for the work of reform to think deeply about where the police have to be in the future, where the NYPD has to be in the future. So you think about this money that's going to be moved to other areas. It says more than $500 million will be shifted to NYCHA and parks, youth recreation centers for broadband expansion. It says the mayor also hopes to get $1 billion in savings from labor unions and avoid layoffs. It says layoffs could happen on October 1st, the last resort. So I don't know if they've realized that the crime rate in New York is going up, and it's gonna go up. If you have less officers out there, a lot of people sit there and they go, well, they need to do is hire more mental health people. Well, that's fine. I understand that. I talked about that in another show. We talked about how to treat somebody for mental health issues, it costs you about $11,000 a year. To house them in the county jail, it costs you about $30,000, maybe more in New York. But that's not the thing. Is the mental health mental health people are not going to make the calls for violent calls. Well, they should not be making the calls for violent calls. If the call goes out that it's an individual threatening suicide, well, you might want to get somebody there to control the scene first, which is the police. They have the ability to do that because a lot of times you get an individual that has, unstable mentally, that has a gun or a knife or something like that. You're going into a bad situation. But to think that they're just going to go handle the calls, I highly doubt it. But to shift a $1 billion I don't know how much that's going to affect New York. I'm sure it's going to have some effect on, law enforcement. I talk to people all over the United States, law enforcement officers that are leaving law enforcement early. They're either retiring as soon as they can and leaving because they don't feel like they have the, the trust of the community anymore. Immediately they're considered a shooting. They're automatically attacked, and they're made to think that, that everybody, the way it's broadcasted is that's the way all is. Well, I'm sorry, it's not happening like that. A lot of people think that, that, and I have a friend of mine, he's from out of the country, he lives in Norway, and he hears it in the news that law enforcement is shooting people, in the streets over here all the time. Well, it's not happening like that. It's reported that way, but they talked about that, it's a shame anytime an officer has to get involved in a shooting. Are there shootings or anything where officers do that are wrong? Oh, of course. Any profession it is. And you have doctors that screw up and malpractice, kill a patient, or a patient dies because of their hand. Do they get charged and go to prison or whatever? No. But I mean, it's a tough situation to be in. The doctors and like police officers and fire department and medics, they make decisions that are at high stress levels, where it's coming at you. It's like a linebacker. Linebacker doesn't have to sit there and go, okay, let me look at the films and see where he's going to throw this ball before where I need to be. They have to respond to what they see. Not always is it correct. I've been in situations, being a law enforcement officer, where I was pulling the trigger and stopped myself because of noticing something that wasn't right. I was probably, I think it was 19, 20-year-old kid, and I was involved. I was at a bank alarm. It was a silent alarm trip. We thought that they were robbing the bank, so we're ready, sitting outside. We had plainclothes officers go in the building to check it out, to clear it. I had somebody walk up behind me, and the wild thing was I was checking my back to make sure nobody was there, and the person grabbed me from behind, spun me around, and I drew my weapon, blocked his arm up, and stuck a 45 in the person's gut, and was ready to pull the trigger because I thought I was dead. I mean, it was that quick, that reaction, and I noticed who it was, and I was like upset. I told him, you almost got yourself killed, and his response to me was, well, you reacted pretty good. I'm like, you don't realize in a situation like that what could have happened. So I always say, like, the camera doesn't lie, but the camera doesn't always tell the whole truth. They showed a picture of one of the royal family, and I had to laugh because they showed a picture, and if you saw the photo, you would think he was flipping off the camera. But when they showed the other photo from the side, he had 3 fingers up like this, and he was holding them out. But it looked like, when you saw it, that he was flipping off the camera. Well, that's the problem with our media nowadays, is they don't always present the whole truth. That's why, like, a lot of times you see an incident happened, and immediately they released the either dash cam or the body cam, because that way the people get to make the decision. The problem is story prints on page 1, retraction prints on page 8, and that's the hard thing about having, retractions like that. I'm broadcasting on 2 platforms tonight. We're on Facebook Live and we're on YouTube. So hopefully we're going to get more. I plan on adding some different camera views, I'm trying to get everything set up, and we're going to have it to where you could actually call in live. You'll be able to call the 1-844 number and call in live, and if you want to talk about anything on the show, we can talk about it. I'm going to have guests on different things. I got a new computer on order. It should be here middle of June. My new board. I actually have a Behringer board. It's got more flipping switches on it than I know what to do with. It's so I'm looking at doing is getting a little bit more professional with the show. We got our green screen up. We got our our background. We're gonna change that out, do a little bit of different there. We have, I'm trying to do is just get it to where, more things that we can discuss and talk about. Interesting things. Like, they talk about the pipeline hacking. I don't know what you could do to hack a pipeline, but I'm sure there is. Everything is done by computers and technology nowadays. But they finally got it started back up again, which is great. But they already went to hoarding gas. People were freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, we're not going to get gas," so they're hoarding it. Well, I'm not here to bad rap President Biden or anything like that, but I thought we were energy independent under the last administration. Now all of a sudden gas prices are going up. And I remember when I used to have a big black Suburban. I mean, I loved it. It was a great thing, a lot of room, tons of room, but you'd go to fill that thing up and it was like $100 and some dollars. It had a 31-gallon tank. Well, that was when it was almost $4 a gallon. That was, probably 10 years ago. And now gas prices are creeping up constantly. In 4 weeks' time, it went up like 80 cents, 20 cents a week or something like that. So summer coming up, a lot more people are driving out. The COVID restrictions are starting to lift. I saw 7 Yankee players got diagnosed with COVID. We had one lady that works where I do. She didn't work with me, but she's one of the support people. She come down with COVID. I'm lucky. I went and got out both vaccines. I had the first and second half, and I did it because I wanted my dad would not let me come in to visit him unless I did. And so the first vaccine, I had the Moderna. I felt like I got hit by a truck. I was so wiped out after I had it. I said to a friend of mine who he got it at the same time, and I said, "Hey, how are you feeling?" He goes, "Oh, my arm's a little sore." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I felt like I got run over by a truck." He says, "Well, I hear the second half is worse." And I'm like, "Well, I'll probably be dead." And the second half didn't seem as bad to me. I had a headache a little bit. First one, I felt like they stuck a spike in my forehead. That's how bad it was. It was crazy. I hurt everywhere. You go to sleep, every joint hurt. Well, it's way down. So I hopefully later in the summer, or early, I'm hoping by June that most of these restrictions are lifted. I noticed Texas has had very limited amount of positive COVID. It's dropped dramatically as they open up. I was always taught that you need the natural. They're talking about wearing masks even after you had the vaccine. I'm like, what's the purpose of getting the vaccine then? You go and you get vaccinated. You think, okay, well, good, I'm vaccinated. Now I don't have to go with I deal with all this stuff. And they're talking about doing vaccine passports. Well, what's the purpose of those? So Yeah, I'm just like, I'm ready for this to be over. I think, we talked about, we used to sit there and go through and calculate the death rates for COVID-19, and it was like less than 1%. It was like 0.04, whatever. It was like, it was less than a half a percent. And the flu rate is a heck of a lot worse. And what happens is we didn't have any flu deaths this winter. Everybody classed as COVID deaths. I know that they were doing, I think they were adding more funding if you had COVID related deaths. Well, I don't think you need to sell yourself out just to get funding. Actually, the state of Iowa is now no longer asking or no longer requesting or accepting the unemployment extra kick benefits, because there's plenty of jobs out there. We've opened everything up. I mean, the businesses, if they want to, can still, require a mask or anything like that. I mean, hey, it's your own business. You require what you want. I just, they said, I mean, the kids now, they told they could be within 3 feet of each other. Well, what's the difference of the kids and adults? They should be able to. We had 4 guys in a truck that were riding. This is earlier when it was in the hot heyday of when it was all going crazy. Well, one guy had COVID. 3 guys were in the truck riding all week with him. Didn't even get it. One of the ladies that work with me, she lived in an apartment. She's a college student, lived in an apartment with 2 other college kids. 2 of them had it and 1 didn't. I mean, how do you? I mean, they're sharing everything. How does one get it and somebody doesn't? It's weird. So, and a lot of the younger people, they would get it and they were asymptomatic. They didn't notice it. So it was more for the elderly that were, I was worried about my dad. I had a friend of mine who, he was in his 70s. He caught it and he passed away from it. And he was paranoid that he was going to get it. He got I feel bad because he was a great guy. And just to see that he passed away from it really, really was tough. So, it's good to see, the restrictions starting to lift off. I'm hoping it'll keep going that way. But I was listening to Dr. Fauci talk, and I'm like going, he makes it sound like we're going to be wearing masks for several more years. And I'm like, oh, God, please, no. I can't sit there wearing a mask for 10 minutes. I hate when I go get my hair cut. I have to wear a mask, and you have to wear, I mean, it's so much harder to breathe. It's irritating, and I'm ready for it to be over. I'm sure a ton of people are. It gets old. But what's weird is if you go into a place where they require a mask, or if they're optional, or you run into somebody that doesn't have it and they start freaking out going, where's your mask? Where's your mask? Why don't you have your mask on? If you just stay away from the people, you don't have to worry about it. You're outside. We got, people playing on the golf course. They don't wear a mask when they play. I tell you what, I've seen some do, which is kind of weird. When you're outside, it's probably not good for you to be wearing it. Somebody going to start wearing it when it's like about 100 degrees outside, and they're going to pass out. So one of the biggest things that, talking about that $1 billion away from the New York City budget, just think of all the stuff that they do that is COVID related, or, I don't know how they're gonna function with taking away $1 billion. They said that the class that it's like 1,000 officers. New York's so big. I mean, I wonder how many people are retiring every day. It'd be kind of a wild stat to know. I have no idea, but it'd be interesting to know what We had talk about crime rankings. I checked on this because I was wondering how United States ranks in crime and stuff like that throughout the world. So I was looking at this one stat. If you look at it, we are ranked in the United States 56th on the world rankings. This is in 2021. So you look at countries, it's like Venezuela was number one. Papua New Guinea. I had my wife's uncle was a missionary in Papua New Guinea, and that's where he lived his whole life. He was like the volunteers and the crime rate over there is unbelievable. He said that the rape that happened, the beatings and stuff in Papua New Guinea was unbelievable. He said, but you look at it: South Africa, Afghanistan, Honduras, Trinidad and Tobago, El Salvador, Guyana, Syria, Brazil. That's the top 10 right there. We're 55th. You look at all these countries that are ahead of us in crime rate. One that kind of surprised me that was, I would never thought. Well, I was thinking that, Sweden's right behind us. I would have thought they would have been a lot lower. You see, like Russia's 84th. But this goes down to 135 countries. And you see like Hong Kong, 129. Well, Hong Kong is so restrictive. So, and who knows? I don't know how much they report. But this is it's from a website called Numbeo or something like that, numbeo.com. It does crime rankings by country. So quality of life. It says pick a city or pick a country. Let's see what the United States says. The quality of life. The quality of life index it says 165. It's got a high purchasing power. Safety index is moderate. Healthcare index is high. Climate index is high. Cost of living index is moderate. Property price to income ratio is very low. Traffic commute time, low. Pollution index, low. So I guarantee you there's some of these that are just sky high. So, especially pollution index. What's wild is when they show, what is it, California? Was it LA? And they show the smog. Well, I guess since they've had this, since COVID, they've had a lot less smog. Cleared out. Well, I mean, there's one thing that's been good about it, but I mean, so many people are, out of work. They need to get back to work. I mean, it's tough to sit there and expect the government to take care of you. They don't. I mean, if you're making, $600 some a week, that's not enough to pay your bills. That's crazy to think that you're making more with the government kicking in than you would be on unemployment. So, they talk about there's no stats to show that people, some people are. They're mad when their employer took out the PPE loan to pay them to stay to work. They didn't have to lay them off. The only problem is they said the job index, the last one was really low. It was like 266,000 jobs or something like that created. I'm like, we were at the lowest unemployment rate ever for minorities under Trump. And then, I mean, I think that's a good thing. I mean, I'm not saying they're talking about this $1 trillion jobs package. Well, weren't we just at the lowest unemployment rate? What were we doing before? Why can't either party work together and say, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's just do that. It has to be, no, that's a dumb idea. And let's crash the economy. And then we'll say the recovery is ours. I'm like, really? Seriously? Where are we going with the economy right now? They're talking about having a recession in 100 days. And, we had the strongest economy had been for a long time under Trump until COVID hit. COVID hit and everybody started going out of work. I mean, you couldn't do anything else. So, teachers are complaining they don't want to go back. They don't want the kids. They don't want to go back to school teaching because they don't feel it's safe. But they don't have any problem with the people at Walmart and the people at all the places that they want to go shop. Back, they never quit working. They stayed working. I mean, you go into Walmart, you go into, they cut down their hours, but they still work. And the fast food places still had fast food going out. I talked to a guy that works for Jimmy John's, and he's one of the managers for Jimmy John's. He says ever since COVID hit, they had to hire more and more people to deliver because they couldn't keep up with it. The demand was so high. Well, everybody's ordering out. Not Uber. What is it? Yeah, well, Uber Eats. You got, all your different food, DoorDash and different stuff like that. There's tons more people that are able to do that. And then they got the contactless delivery. I mean, yeah, I think it's great. Although, what does it put us at? It puts us to where we have no interaction with other people. And people are so freaked out about being around other people. I mean, we went from being, I would say, more compassionate. I mean, people would talk to each other. Nowadays, they're like, oh my God, you get the plague. They were talking yesterday, I think it was, where it was Rand Paul was interviewing Dr. Fauci, and the death rate for COVID is less than 1%. And they were doing mutation studies in that I don't know how you pronounce it, the laboratory in China or whatever it was, Wuhan or whatever it is, the laboratory with SARS. They said the death rate for SARS is 15%. Imagine if that SARS virus got out that was mutated to where it could transfer to human contact. That's what they were doing. They were checking, and it's been apparently outlawed by our government, but it was funded and it was signed off funding by Dr. Fauci that they were doing some way around it. I don't know. So I don't know if anything will ever happen out of it or something like that, but they were talking about that. And you could see Dr. Fauci was getting pissed. He was like, we do not do whatever. But he said, just imagine if 15%, if the death rate was 15%, and it's less than 1% now. And we've had worldwide 3 million deaths. Think about that. Think of that 15%. That's where that Bill Gates wants to do is reduce the population of not just the United States. He wants to reduce the population of the world to help save the world. I'm like, seriously, he wants to block out the sun or whatever, do this, whatever. I'm like, how do you turn it? Okay, let's say you do all your deal where you block out the sun. How do you stop it and go, oh, wait a minute, we went too far. Now we need to do is what? Clear the atmosphere. You do stupid things like that, you might not be able to do is reverse it. So, yeah, apparently Bill and Melinda Gates are no longer cohabitating together. I guess what they're talking about. They're getting a divorce. Well, she didn't like the fact that his apparent association with Epstein. And I'm not talking about Theo Epstein, the one that managed the Cubs. I'm talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the one who apparently committed suicide. So she didn't quite like his affiliations with, and I would love to see that come out. I wonder what's the one that was Epstein's. I don't know what she kept track of everything. And I guarantee you they have, if they haven't already raided that island and seized every video they have, I bet you they have video of unbelievable amounts of people that went to that island and played hanky panky. They call it the dirty dance with no pants, and you don't know if it was, what they're, if they were underage kids or what like that. I just seem to think that there's got to be some serious video out there where people are sweating bullets, panicking. Bill Clinton has one. I don't know. He's been to the island like 22 times or something like that. I don't know. The flight logs say. Oh, we just went there for the sun. Yes. Oh, the Mai Tais are unbelievable. The little umbrella drinks. Yeah, right. I would bet that. I would bet there was some goofy stuff going on. They a lot of them thought they were untouchable. They didn't think that they had to worry about it. They had. I also wanted to talk about smart guns. We got. Somebody brought up the topic the other day about the guns that have you're supposed to be not RFID chips. It's kind of a what do they call it? It's like a fingerprint technology. But the problem with those smart guns is they're they need a battery source. They need some type of way to read the person's. It's not like you're just going to pick it up and it's going to be like Judge Dredd, where if you're not one of the judges, it's not going to work for you. If you're not, Sylvester Stallone, it's not going to work for you. But you got to be his twin brother or something like that. So, I mean, that's the. People think that that's the way it's going to be. Well, a lot of people think, okay, well, if you have that technology on it and somebody else picks it up, it won't be able to fire. I don't think they're to that level yet. Maybe down the road, it might be able to get to there. Would it make, an officer carrying that weapon and it only work for him? It might be nice because it'd be kind of pointless to disarm him. A criminal to try to do that. But it says, the electronic devices require power source. It says smart guns are no exception. Without electricity, it cannot be fired. Someone intent on using a firearm for home defense could find themselves in serious danger. If they drew a weapon on an armed intruder only to find the batteries are drained. Think about that. I watched a video where Ted Cruz was talking with, oh God, what is her name? She's one of the actresses, and trying to get her to understand that she's, they go, oh, and I even hear it from the Biden administration when they talk about, machine guns that can spray 1,000 bullets in a matter of seconds. And I'm like, where? What gun is that? You tell me what gun it is. It's not out there. There's a law already And it's been since the 50s that you cannot own a machine gun. So every weapon that's out there right now, besides you have to have a serious license to be able to own one, or military wise, to own a machine gun. But every weapon is a semi-automatic version where you pull the trigger once, it fires once. Keep pulling the trigger. And they go, well, like California has these ban on high-capacity magazines. Do you think that the criminal that's carrying a gun illegally from the get-go is going to care less about the law that says he can't carry the high-capacity magazine? No. They're going to go, right. They don't care. They have no intent on following the law from the get-go. Why should they follow the law for the high-capacity magazines? I mean, think about it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they don't follow the law from the get-go. They're not going to follow the law no matter what law you put in effect. And then they talk about there's an individual that was involved in a shooting at a birthday party. He killed, I don't know how many people, and then he turned a gun on himself and killed himself. So think about that. If that person is mentally off, if that person didn't have a gun, didn't have access to a gun, no way of getting a gun, and that person was that far off, they're going to use another way to create some type of crime to where they can kill somebody without a gun. They're either going to knife people, or they're going to run somebody over with a car or a truck or some way. If they're that mentally unstable, or I call it, because you have to be, to go ahead and do that to somebody, you have to be mentally unstable. You can't be in your right mind to sit there and just start killing people like that. Something's wrong with you. Might not be worth putting you in a mental institution. You might have to go to prison for the rest of your life, but that person is not mentally right. He or she is not mentally right to be amongst other people. That person will not be reformed if you sit there and go, oh, well, let's put them in there and see if we can get them treated. Well, I'm sorry. That type of person will probably do it again. They have no remorse for anything. And that guy did have remorse, he killed himself. So he's probably going to do that another way without a gun. You're not going to stop wacko people. Look at what Oklahoma City bombing. How many people died there? There wasn't a gun there. How about the Boston bombing? No guns there. I mean, evil is evil, and if evil wants to show its ugly head, it's gonna. I just don't understand how people, most people are raised when they're raised up, and I don't know. I'm sure it is that some people are trained or I trained, or because when you're a baby or a young kid, like 2 years old, racism is taught. Racism is not something that all of a sudden you just go, you just figure out on your own that you're going to be racist. Racism is taught from parents to their children. Hating of someone by their race, hating someone by their religion, hating someone by, hating somebody that's in law enforcement. You never met that person, but I can't stand law enforcement. Why? Because they either took their mom or dad away to jail, or they did something illegal and got caught. It could be a multitude of reasons, but they were taught that. I mean, what do you always do as a you hear sirens? Oh, there comes the police! They're going to take you away. You know, that's what they used to always say, joking around. Well, you want young kids, if something happens, you want them to be able to run to police to get the help. So, it's I just hate to see great law enforcement leaving the profession because they have no backing. I'm not saying it's not in this community. This community is very good for support of law enforcement. I know a ton of law enforcement officers here, and I don't know any that I wouldn't consider to be straight on the up and up, be good officer. I've never dealt with anybody that has been, so full of themselves that they won't talk to you. I'm sure there are people that way. I knew just a very few when I was in my law enforcement career. You get some people that think that they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and there was a lot of different policies that were changed over time. Like pursuits. We had there was a young child. I call him a child because a child like 13 years old, I guess, was officers respond to a call, and kid was on a bike, rode out in front of him, and I guess the kid died. I'm just like, I guarantee you that officer is just devastated to come, and have that happen. I was, I think I was 20. No, I wasn't even that old. I think it's maybe 18. And I was they sent us home for Christmas in between basic and AIT. And I was pulling out of a 7-Eleven, and I started to accelerate for the light because the light was green, and it's like about a quarter mile up, or maybe not quite that far, maybe a little bit closer than that. And I started to accelerate for the light, and it was dark out because it was around 6:30 at night or something like that. And I seen something out of the corner of my eye, and I locked up the brakes, and boosh, the windshield went out, just shattered out. It was a Cutlass Salon, my mom and dad. So I started driving their car. I was home on leave, and I threw it in park. You had to shift her on the column, and I pushed the headlights in. I don't know why, just to have it out of getting out of the car. Ran around the back of the car to look to see what I hit, and I'm looking, and there's nothing there. And I'm like, where the heck did they go? And I'm thinking they're under the car. Somebody got hit and they went under the car. And I turn around and look, and there's somebody walking on the sidewalk, holding their head like this. And I went up to her, and it ended up being a young girl, probably 16 years old. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" She said, "Yes." And I rushed her to the hospital, which was like about 4 or 5 blocks away. And I'm doing like 100 miles an hour in 4 blocks, just flying over there. I get there, get her in, and she had a slight concussion and a cut right on her forehead here. Lucky to be alive. I bet that car hit her at 25, 30 miles an hour. She was gapping traffic, and she looked over like this and back, and then started to run across, didn't see me pull out. And where the car meets in the front, where the hood and the front windshield meet, she ran right straight in the side of my car and wham, hit her head off the windshield. She's lucky to be alive, actually. I mean, she hit hard enough to where it could have killed her. Got a tough head. I mean, so I'm sitting in the hospital, the emergency room, and I called my parents and I said, "Hey, I'm in the hospital. I'm all right. I'm not injured, but I was in an accident." And I told him, and so my dad comes over, and I'm sitting there talking to him, and these people are sitting over the side, and they're like, yeah, everything I said." And I'm like, finally, I turned to them. I mean, I was freaking out. And I turned to them and I go, "Who the F are you?" Like that. And they're like, "Oh, no, no." I said, "We should have told you we're parents." I'm like, "Who?" You know, I'm like freaking out thinking, who the heck are these people that know what the story is about? But which really sucked was I got insurance through, I don't know, one of the local insurance companies, you know, and they canceled me on it. They didn't even class it as an accident. They classified it as an incident, but my insurance company still canceled me. I'm like, isn't that a pisser? I understand how you can pay your bills, but the minute you claim or do anything, they cancel you. So, but no, you know, you think about the feeling that hitting somebody. That's a panic fear, man. I tell you what, I've been there. I was shaking so bad after that because you think you had just killed somebody by accident. Same way I was feeling when I almost, you know, earlier in the show I talked about where I almost shot, ended up being my sergeant major when I was in the military. I could not stop shaking after that because I was an 18, 19-year-old kid and had, I think I was like 19 at the time, and almost killed somebody. I could not stop shaking. My hands were trembling. I mean, it was unbelievable. I called my sergeant who was at the bank on the other side, and I said to him, I go, "Hey, I told him what happened." He goes, "Oh my!" And so he went into the station to talk to him, make sure everything clear. But I mean, I stood there, put my head on the steering wheel, trying to breathe, just to relax, to get down from. I mean, I was panicking, I was shaking. When you come to that realization, when what hits the fan, well, how are you going to react? Are you going to run towards or run away from it? They had an amazing photo where there was a shooting at a college just recent, and the students, they showed a picture of the students were running away from the gunfire, where there was like 3 or 4 officers that were running towards it with their weapons out. I mean, what are you going to do? Oh, well, let's get the social worker out there. No, I'm sorry. That's where the officer has to go respond to that. I saw a technologies thing where new weapons for the military, which this one just blew my mind. I couldn't believe it was the bullets can actually, a bullet can self-target. It was amazing. It's called self-steering bullets. It's packed with tiny sensors. A 50 caliber bullet under velvet can change course rapidly in midair, potentially giving a mediocre sniper like accuracy. It says with the ability to hit moving targets with ease. That's crazy. Kind of makes me think of the movie Wanted, where he goes like and shoots and makes the bullet curve around the cadaver or whatever it was, or the side of beef. I mean, that'd be kind of cool to be able to do that, but I just, but yeah, imagine it. Being able to do is fire that bullet and have it track onto your target. Just a bullet, 50 cal bullet. Imagine a 50 cal bullet hitting somebody. It doesn't matter. A nick with the 50 cal is going to do a lot of damage to a person. So this one, I thought I doesn't, unmanned submarine honor. Well, that makes sense. It's easy because you don't have to worry about having somebody in it. You don't have to worry about having To feed, all you got to do is make sure that it's got, power. And it'd be almost like an underwater drone. So I was in a service, and I was stationed at Fort Bliss in El Paso, and I was actually able to be at one of the testings for the MLRS, which is the Multiple Launch Rocket System. If you ever saw when we first went into we got into Iraq War, and they launched all those missiles off those rocket trucks, that's what it was. It looks like a giant box that raises up and tilts, and it was like something you see out of a fireworks thing, really cool looking, intense to watch. I get to see a lot of cool weapons. When I was in the service, I saw the Pershing missile, which is a ICBM, which is a intercontinental ballistic missile. It's what you would see as our nuke. I've seen it fired multiple times. You had to have there's a 6-mile shrapnel radius from the pad if it ever blew up on the pad, that you had to be away because it could throw it for that far. Watched it fire multiple times. Saw the Nike, the Hawk missile, the Nike Herc, Vulcan cannon. I mean, just some really cool technology. Cobra gunships come in. I talked about this story one time before, talking about UFOs and stuff. My sergeant, one of my sergeants, Sergeant Farmer, he was hilarious. He had a Volkswagen Bug. He thought he was going to get abducted by a UFO or whatever. We had a 6-mile access road into base camp, and he was riding, and the Cobra gunship was flying right over top of him, hovering over him all the way in. He comes in, I just seen a UFO, which I don't doubt there are probably UFOs out there. They had it was in the story. They just came out. They talked about it. So they still talking about different weapons. Plasma protection field. Think about that. A plasma protection field. That means this is something like out of Star Wars. Think about that. It said the idea is to create an ionized airfield that would deflect incoming blast. That is just crazy to think about, that technology. There's one out with what's his name? He played Triple X, not porn, but they had this like nanotechnology where his blood would automatically come back to him. And it's kind of a wild movie. And they would put all the memories in his head because he was supposedly died or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of a crazy movie to watch. Neat movie. A lot of special effects in there. Really cool. But yeah, it's down the road. What is that? Universal Soldier, that was one of them. You see that kind of movie where I'm sure there's technology or there's experiments that are going on with that. No, I don't think they're doing like Wolverine where they're sticking the blades in the hands. I mean, if they could, where he could regenerate himself, that's the kind of like that. He's kind of like Wolverine, but without the blades. It's a neat movie. I mean, I've seen it, I think, twice. Another technology coming out with it's called an extra stealthy bomber. Well, this thing, you look at that, if I saw that thing flying, I think it's a UFO. I mean, what the heck? I don't know what characteristic it's going to fly like. You see, oh, here's another one. This is a crazy a satellite melter. It says one way to remove an enemy satellite is melt it. A DARPA-funded program with Northrop Grumman and Raytheon is developing a satellite that will be designed to hunt and track an adversary's defense satellite. Well, you could just pretty much shut them down if you, melt their their technology. I would bet that there's, they were talking about Star Wars, not, not the TV show, but Star Wars, or the movie. I mean, but under Reagan, when they were talking about doing that, I would not doubt it if that was planned. I mean, or implemented. We want to have the upper hand in most situations. It was like I always say, what was it? Walking tall, walk softly, and carry a big stick. You have to be ready to defend yourself, and you have to show that you can defend yourself. Because if you don't, idiots will test you. But no, talking about Army's talking about equipping by this fall with those, I don't know if they're virtual reality headsets or whatever like that, but that would be pretty wild. They have smart shirts. It can track your steps because it has lined with those I don't know, some way to read your ability to read how many steps you took, all your probably does your cardio, your heart rate, now they get these things where you can actually put your fingers on there and it'll do your heartbeat. And it can actually send it to a cardiologist if something's wrong. That's so crazy. Think that the way technology is going. I mean, they keep coming out with better and better things. How far is it going to go? Who knows? Right now, my app I'm doing a hydration app, and it just told me, did you forget about something? It's time for your next. I'm trying to get myself to drink at least 12 ounces of water every so often, because I would be laying in bed at night and go, I think I'm going to get a cramp. And that's when it kicks in. And then you look like a real idiot because you got to walk around your house for like at 2:30 in the morning for a half hour to try to get the cramp out. Because if you sit down too early, the cramp comes right back. But yeah, it's and my dogs are following me around going like, hey, where are you going? What are you going to get something? Going to get some food? So yeah, so I'm hoping this is going to help out. Hopefully hydrate enough, and this will solve my cramping problem. But there's talking about UFOs and stuff, getting on that subject. You always get these weird pictures from the International Space Station. I think that probably those things are blurred on purpose because they have to have better cameras than that. Oh my God, you get a Ring camera with a better picture than that. Although I don't like my cameras at night. I have to get a better floodlight. But this former manager of a DoD aerospace threat program says UFOs are real. This came out that was in October 23rd of 2017. They come out. Just think, later this year, it says later this year they're supposed to do another data dump to come out with more files related to UFOs. So I can't wait till that hits out, and hopefully it'll be real interesting to check that out. But this article came out in 2017. I interviewed, it's been probably 3-4 years ago, Dr. Stanton, well, probably longer than that because I've been off for probably 6 years ago. I interviewed Dr. Stanton Friedman. He was like the world's most authority on UFOs. It was unreal, the knowledge he had about different cases that had been reported. Why do I think that they keep it from us? Because I think people would freak out. Imagine if you knew that the guy living next door to you was an alien. You thought he's normal, and then all of a sudden you find out, like, what was it? I can't remember the name of the show where they wore the glasses, and with the glasses on, they could see who was an alien, who wasn't. And it was, I can't remember the name of it. It was an older movie, but it was actually, it started out with the glasses, and then after he got rid of the glasses, he supposedly wore these contacts that he could see. Yeah, it's. Do I think people would freak out? You know it. They probably end up shooting somebody. People probably, most people can't handle it. They would be like, this can't be true. Well, do I think that they're walking amongst us? Oh, probably. I've met some people that I swear they were aliens just because of the way they act. I remember was it Men in Black where he goes, I knew she was an alien. That lady, one of his teachers. I mean, I guarantee you, people that run across it, you would not surprise you if you went, yeah, I knew it. That person is an alien. So you're gonna find out, some athlete that jump as high as they can. Who knows? Well, there's a funny story I want to point out. Actually, you talk about technology, Tesla cars. Everybody talking about how these Tesla, I've seen some cool looking Tesla cars. Well, apparently, a California Tesla driver was arrested while riding in the back seat. He was 25 years old. He was arrested for alleged reckless driving. He says, but he told reporters that riding in the back seat isn't dangerous and he will continue it. So the motorist was arrested after an officer observed him in the backseat of a Tesla traveling on a San Francisco Bay Area freeway. I don't know. It's kind of scary to think that car drive itself, and brake and turn and do everything. I'm thinking down the road, eventually most cars will be that way. They're going to take the driving out of your hands. Well, the one thing about it is you would never, if they took the driving out of your hands, once the light changed, you would be able to go. The cars would know, they would be radioed to each other car to know what location they're in. So you'd almost probably be faster getting places because you wouldn't have some idiot sitting there looking at their phone going, oh, it's green, but you lose the independence of being able to, drive a car for the experience of it. I mean, like a sports car, you get a sports car, you get one with a stick shift because you want to drive and experience the car. It's like a motorcycle. You get a Harley Davidson because you want to rumble and that's what you want to ride. You don't get a Harley Davidson because you want it to be quiet and barely, make any noise. Although, which really kind of surprised me, Harley Davidson is coming out with an electric Harley Davidson model. I mean, I don't know. It just sounds weird because Harleys were always known for, the wop, 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 wop. When they sit there, the noise of it. It's, you hear some of them that just, oh my God, they talk about when they rev it, the whole neighborhood will wake up, you know. I mean, they sound cool. They're talking about making cars locally here at a violation for how loud your car is. You know, so many decibels or whatever it is. Well, I don't know how you enact that. If a car was built before that, how do you all of a sudden was legal yesterday, now it's illegal today? I don't know. That's weird. And where does who makes the decision on decibels? So, like, they were like, oh, your radio, if you have it 50 feet away, well, I can turn a radio on very low at 50 feet away, you can still hear it, or it's not even loud. But what makes it to where it's a violation? I don't know. I used to love to have car stereos and stuff like that, but nowadays some of the newer cars, the stereos are so nice they're putting in them. But I mean, when I was a lot younger, I used to put the boom box in the back and have the the big subwoofers and I love listening to music when I'm in a car. Some people don't even turn it on. Not me. I like to listen to music while I drive. Sometimes listen to the car. But like when I had my motorcycle, I used to put a Walkman, and mount it to the gas tank and had headphones on. Now everything's Bluetooth. So, well, we are a little bit over time tonight. I think, let me see if we got any other stories I want to talk about. No, I think I talked about that one last week. Let's see here. I'm not quite sure what that one is. Oh, no, that was about the gun violence. This was a kind of a weird story, and I'm like, I don't understand why this lady, she was a Florida woman. She posed as a student, 28 years old. She's 28. She posed as a student to promote her Instagram page. I mean, you want Instagram likes and everything that bad that you're going to go pose as a student at a Miami area high school. Shouldn't look like anything like a high school student, maybe a college, but really. Says her stunt at American Senior High School landed Frances Keeney in jail. She's facing charges of burglary, interfering with a school function, and resisting arrest without violence. So, yeah, I never understand why people do some of the goofy things just because they want those likes on the internet. They feel like it's a power thing. Well, like I was talking to my son. I can't understand why they'll watch people play video games. They won't play video games. They have the same game, but they won't play it. They'll watch people play games. And I'm like, and they're like, oh, that YouTuber did this. YouTuber did this, and I'm like, going, I'm on YouTube. I'm not playing video games, but I'm on YouTube. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that that's what the reaction is. It's kind of different. You think about being a young kid nowadays. I wouldn't mind being a young kid nowadays if I knew everything that I know now. Because I would love to do I'd love to be able to go back with the knowledge I have now. I'd like to go back to start over when I was a kid. One reason why I'd love to go back, I'd love to see my mom again. It was tough Mother's Day. Every Mother's Day is tough when you lose your mother. My mom was I want to tell you, she was an angel. She she was the best mother. I miss her a lot. I really think that she, it was. I think about her all the time. Her picture's right up on the wall. I'm looking at it right there. A great mural of my mom on the wall, and I have her tattooed on my arm. Not an actual picture of her face, because I think those are kind of creepy to see some of the tattoos. Some of them are really unbelievable. But yeah, I went out and got a tattoo done. I don't know if you can see it on there or not. It shows, yep, you can see. There we go. Oop, gotta move the mic here. If I can see. Got a picture of my mom and I gotta go a little higher here. My mom and my son, who we lost at 7 months, flying a kite up in heaven. And I just, I was that mama's boy. I always, my mom, she sounded like Katharine Hepburn. She had that really scratchy, broken voice. Could never yell, which was always a good thing, because I'm sure I would have got yelled at a lot. But my dad could yell real well. But my mom never yelled. My dad, oh yeah, yeah. She always wait till your dad gets home, and I was like, oh crap. So no, she was a saint, and to go this past Mother's Day with her, been passed on for over 2 years. It was just, it just still that it's a bittersweet. She went through a lot toward the end there. So hope everybody had a great Mother's Day coming up. Not this weekend, next weekend is the PGA Championship. So we'll do a PGA Championship preview for that next Wednesday, and hopefully I'll have my computer all set up. I don't know if I won't have my other tower, but I'll have my new media board, and hopefully we'll be able to get some people to call in then. So it is a little bit overtime tonight. We're at about an hour and 15 minutes or whatever. So, hey, everybody, have a great night, a great weekend, everything. If you see something, say something. Don't be afraid to call it in, and be a little bit more compassionate of your friend, your neighbor. It doesn't hurt. I saw a great story. I don't know how true it is, but it made me feel good that hopefully it is true. Where a lady was in line at a coffee place, gonna get a coffee, and all of a sudden it popped in her head, I'm gonna pay for the big burly guy that looked like he was all pissed off behind her. Maybe it'll make his day. So the guy flagged her down after he had bought her coffee and said that a relative of his had died, and he was so upset at God for taking them early that he was so mad, and he said if he made the effect of if you're real, have that person buy me coffee, and it happened, and he was bawling his eyes out. I would love to think that crazy stuff like that happens because of a higher purpose. So once again, have a great night, a great week, great weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you when I see you. Peace out.